I'm Chris. I am the secretary this week. Our vice month. God. All right, do it again.
Okay, I call this meeting of the Missing Movie Club to order.
Yeah.
This is Pamela. Yeah. I am president this month because it's my movie that made everybody incredibly sad and have very, very bad white guilt. Am I lying?
I'm traumatized.
I don't know about the guilt part, but I want to slap some people.
I just was angry.
Okay, we watched the Ernest Green Story because it's a very important movie to me that I saw when it first came out in 1993.
In days of yore.
In days of yore. I was in 6th grade and we watched this movie in my small, rural, white town in Arkansas, which all the boys were very surprised that they let us watch this in class. But I think we watched it for Arkansas history, although Arkansas history was in 5th grade, so maybe I'm getting my memories mixed up.
Could be.
But, yeah. Okay.
And this whole episode is going to be just this comfortable.
Yep.
There's a whole lot of...
Just like the past 2 hours of our life.
Seemed like 8.
But the pizza was good.
Yeah, we had pizza. So, Secretary, do you want to do roll call?
Why, yes, Madam President. I will be happy to take roll call. As you know, this month, I am the acting secretary. I am Chris. Our vice president is...
Oh, it's me, Jason. I'm very traumatized to be here.
And our treasurer this month is...
It's me, John.
So he's got a lot to do, ladies and gentlemen.
Enjoy that role.
Oh, I'm into it.
So, speaking of treasurer, do you have a treasurer's report for us?
I do.
Whoa.
I know, you're shocked.
I am.
Yeah,
I'm totally surprised.
I'm pleased to report that unofficially we were sponsored by Domino's Pizza. Unofficially, because they were so late with our pizzas, like 4 times that we had like 4 free pizzas they gave us. So, unofficially. But if they'd like to make that official, we'd be down for it.
Yeah, we were undecided about your cheeseburger pizza at Domino's. We're not sure how we feel about that.
I enjoyed it. It was all right. I mean, I'd have it again.
Did not taste it.
Oh.
It's just...
I had cheese.
It was interesting. I think it's the mustard ketchup base.
I think it's like this movie. Like, I understand that it's interesting and good, but it made me real uncomfortable. Jeez. It's something different from what we usually do. But...
See, I think it's coming from like my kind of poor background. I use ketchup for like pizza sauce, for spaghetti sauce. So I'm used to that ketchup kind of taste on multitudes of things. So.
Yeah, you take some toast, you put some ketchup on it, you put a little pepperoni, a little cheese.
Yep.
You have yourself a pizza.
You do. Yep.
A couple of the rat legs you managed to catch in that one corner.
Hey,
I just got re-traumatized all over again with toast pizza.
Yes, Pamela and I grew up.
You never had toast pizza?
No.
What?
Listen.
Oh
okay,
my
so
gosh.
we grew up poor too, and I just didn't eat sometimes. One time my mom made a tater tot casserole with like extra leftover taco meat and a bunch of other stuff, and I threw up in my mouth. And I can never have tater tot. It took me probably 20 years before I would put an actual tater tot back in my mouth. From that moment, I was just like, no, I'm good. I don't want to eat. I'll be all right. I'm a little chunky. I can lose some weight.
Childhood trauma. It's what's for dinner.
Yes.
Pizza toast just...
I was probably eating some pizza toast about the time this movie came out.
Yeah, I was going to say, in that time frame.
That's something 12-year-old me could cook, and we had the ingredients for.
Sure.
Yeah.
Pizza toast.
Was it at least white bread?
Yes.
Well, yeah,
okay.
of course.
Oh, yeah, we couldn't afford wheat bread. Are you talking about that hippie bread?
Yeah. Oh no, it was it was the whitest, like bleachest out bread. It had no nutritional content whatsoever.
Mm-mm. Even the outside of the bread was white.
Yeah,
the crust was white.
They
double bleached it as soon as it came out of the oven. They're like, no, just like this movie.
Yes.
They said there will be no color on this bread.
It's true.
Probably the bread they served in that school's cafeteria.
Okay.
And that's the treasurer's report.
Vice President, do we have any new business?
Oh, gosh. Stop banning books and movies.
That's a good point.
That's just, I mean, this movie really will hit home on a lot of things. I think it hit all of us while we were watching it, that things like this are still happening today. And I think, support your local libraries, and, go to a school board meeting and be heard in opposition of banning education from people. That is just, I don't know. I saw a quote from Stephen King the other day that said, read the books they're telling you to ban. There's information in there that we need to know. So I think we've all probably read a book that was supposedly not okay at our schools and realized that book opened our minds. So stop banning stuff. I'm about to start to cuss. Also, make sure that you are subscribing to the show so you're notified when we pop up. Yeah. We got a new episode. Follow us on all the things. I'm going to say them all at the end.
I promise we won't have another movie like this because they won't let me be president again, at least for 3 terms.
I mean, I'm not going to say who it was. It was John. Voted for impeachment. But I stood up for you. I said, no. I want to suffer for 2 hours and feel horrible about our past.
So I guess we should talk about what the movie's about. This movie is about the Little Rock Nine, and the Little Rock Nine are 9 students who entered Little Rock Central High School in 1957, 3 years after actually the Supreme Court deemed it illegal for schools to be segregated anymore. And so these are the first black students entering into a predominantly not integrated
It was white.
It was
Well, yeah, it was all white school.
You could say
What
it.
happened to other people of color, though? It's Little Rock. Did they go to the black school? I don't know this.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
I would like to know more about that.
That is a
side
good
of
that's
history.
definitely a good thing to bring up because
That's
yeah,
something
they
that
don't
you don't
portray
know
that
about.
because all they portray is black and white in the movie itself is
So this was in the 50s,
57.
Yeah,
Yeah.
57
When
is
did West Side Story take place?
I have no idea.
60s, I
60s?
think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I
early
feel
60s.
like, we like to hold minority groups down in this country, and I feel like it goes in like a cycle, like fashion. Like it was first it was African Americans, then it was the Latino community, then we've had attacks on the Asian community, LGBT folks. It just keeps going in a cycle, and now we're doing all of them at the same time.
Well, yeah, that's the
So it makes me question, so I think you're right. I feel like, though, if you were any other than pure white, you went to the alternative school, I believe is what we would have called it growing up. But
yeah,
or just homeschooled. I don't know.
that could,
I
that's a
want
good
to know
question.
I want to know what happened.
But I mean, as you even saw though in the 1800s and the railroads and stuff, I mean, you had the Chinese, you had the Irish, you had the I mean, there were so many other groups that just white society discriminated against and held, even if they were white technically, they weren't white,
Right.
like the Irish. And,
well, and you had even mentioned, John, during the show that you were surprised there was Catholics at the time. Because even back then,
Catholics
we
were
still
considered...
persecute against religion, depending on what it is. But that was a surprise to me, because from my mind, I was raised Catholic, so I was always like, well, the Catholics have been around for forever.
Yeah.
So
Just my experience growing up, it was like a Baptists dominated everything, or the.
I think we had one small Catholic church in town, and there was one Catholic family, but we didn't talk about them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is Arkansas part of the Bible Belt, or is it on the outskirts?
No, it's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Bible Belt.
I mean, let's be honest. The Bible Belt is kind of like a WWE belt. It gets real wide in the middle.
Right.
Right. It's not like a nice narrow band.
I just thought there might be some frayed edges.
No,
Let's
afraid
see.
not.
According to Google, the
Thank you.
Bible Belt.
Oh, I got it.
The
Sorry.
Bible Belt is usually used to describe these 10 states:
Oh.
Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Arkansas, South Carolina, Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, and Oklahoma.
Oh, Missouri, you didn't make the list.
No, Missouri kind of like some of the maps. They kind of Missouri.
You know
It
it's
stretches
in
up
there.
a little. It's your frayed edges there.
We're the gem right in the middle. Don't
Right.
even lie.
Yeah, we're the chip. No,
We're the buckle.
we're the buckle. No, it's a.
The oversized buckle.
But yeah, it's the Bible Belt, Dixie Alley, kind of how they.
Dixie Alley.
Yeah, that's
That
what
is
they
the
call it.
best drag queen name I've ever heard.
Is that like Kirstie Alley's mom?
It could be.
Well, Kirsty's gotten a little off hinged, so
Oh,
sure. Yeah,
okay.
we don't really like her anymore.
But according though to most things, the Bible Belt is disappearing.
Thank
No, they're
the
just
maker for that.
Yeah, I don't.
It's the Bible suspenders now.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just coming
They're
down
barely
to
hanging on.
yeah. I think a lot of Americans are a little more progressive than they were. Not like again, it doesn't feel like that when we see everything going on in the news today. But I do think more people, and I think that's becoming more of the silent majority now. They don't really care, and I think that has to do with a lot of Gen Xers. I'm a Gen Xer. I think we get to that point. We just don't want to be bothered. Like we want everybody to live their own life and kind of do their own thing. We don't care what you do. Just don't do it in the street and scare the horses. And so it's kind of one of those. I think,
would not be on that street if there were horses.
Yes.
Oh, I forgot. Jason has a
So,
fear of horses.
Yeah. So I do think that there people in America are becoming more progressive and accepting of a lot more things, but unfortunately the vocal minority is still well entrenched. We talked about while watching this movie, those kids that were rejecting, these 9 African American students are now the people in power.
This is what this show's going to be about.
So buckle up, buckaroos.
Sorry. I tried to find some jokes. This is the least amount of notes I've ever taken. Because all I wrote was the racism at the beginning of this movie was too much for me. And it was only like 5 minutes. And I was like, everything out of that person's mouth, I was uncomfortable with.
And I think that is something that we're missing in movies today is that we don't get historical movies like this from a black perspective with white people not being the main character or the focus not being on the white characters.
The white savior.
Yeah.
Every time.
There is no white savior in this movie.
Which I thought was great. And also I kept looking for the white savior.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, look at my bias on the inside. Like I kept thinking, oh, the female counselor, the girls counselor was going to be or Mr. Racism, the teacher. I thought maybe he was going to turn around. I mean, there wasn't. Like even Eisenhower wasn't portrayed as the savior because they were just like, why isn't he doing what he's supposed to be doing? And at one point they were like, why is he allowing this? Mm-hmm. I was like, this is interesting. What a great perspective is that, in our own rose-colored world, we are taught to look for that white savior.
Yeah, and there wasn't one. And even the mayor who called in the National Guard so the kids could start, it was just a little one-off scene.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big deal.
We never saw him again after that, did we?
No, we didn't.
No, he was a very small bit player. And because I thought, there's going to be a confrontation between him and the governor. Right, because do the mayors report to the governor kind of in a hierarchy kind of thing? Like the mayors and then there's governor and then there's president?
Yeah, because it would be local municipality government and then state government and then federal government.
So I kept waiting for some like big confrontation scene and I was like, oh, guess this isn't happening. Okay.
So, yeah, we got to hear it from Ernest.
And I think that's interesting too with the mayor though. I think they played that more off as like, I don't give a hell. I'm out of here anyway. I'm just going to piss these effers off even more by doing this. As we talked about watching the movie, I think they toned down the racism, if you can believe it.
Oh,
because I don't believe that those were just these minor things that happened. I really think they still were thinking of the white audience while they were making the movie because they didn't want to make it too uncomfortable. They made it just enough uncomfortable for you to think, but not enough for you to be like, well, they really weren't that bad. They didn't because
they just shouted a lot.
Well, exactly. They I'm sure there was probably a more violence that would happen during that time than they let on, which is, I get it's a Disney, it was made for schools, and so I think it was good that it didn't sugarcoat some things and it did put it out there from a black experience and not just from the white lens, but I do think they did keep white feelings while making it.
Yeah.
I definitely think that
even Ernest Green said that in interviews after the fact. He said they did what they could, they fit in some stuff, but there was a lot more that happened and went on that they just couldn't fit or didn't fit into the movie.
Yeah, I felt like they really skimmed over what they were going through when going to high school. Because bullying in high school is just a given. It's going to happen, right? So you're going to get bullied because of whatever, and we know that bullying has started since the dawn of time. And I feel like, we saw several incidents of things that happened, but I was like, that's just like the nice things that happened, the easier to watch things that happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's the things that still happen today in hallways to LGBTQIA plus students. Yeah. Is what I was thinking when watching the movie.
Yep.
Yeah. Too, this was made for TV, so it was 1993. So they couldn't...
It was made for the Disney Channel.
Okay.
So it was played on the Disney Channel. So you had to have premium cable back in the day to see this movie.
Premium cable.
So it was for rich white folks.
Right. We call... Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You're right. Yeah.
I mean, in the 90s, I had an antenna. I don't know about y'all.
We
No,
had cable because my grandma lived with us.
Yeah,
And
my
so-
grandparents had cable.
So my grandma always wanted cable so she could watch the Jesus channels. So
I had a real shitty antenna and some tinfoil.
I think we had the satellite dish that took up your half of your
Oh,
backyard.
yeah. Oh,
Whoa.
yeah.
Yeah, we were fancy.
You were.
you were fancy. I would have called you a rich kid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Out there playing with your He-Man toys.
Not about a satellite, my God. We didn't touch that remote. I swear my dad put me through like a 4-page test. Do you know how to click this button? Just give me the thing. I'll figure it out.
I guess I should finish talking about what the movie's about. So
I mean, we just keep getting into it.
So the kids go to the high school and they're not wanted there. So the military has to be called in. The National Guard is called in. At first, it's the Arkansas National Guard to keep the kids out. So maybe about a month passes and finally the mayor calls Eisenhower and asks for help enforcing the new desegregation law. And so the Federal National Guard?
No, the actual
The
army.
The
yeah,
army.
the actual
Yeah.
army is called in. Yeah.
Is called in. And then we get to see a year in the life of Ernest Green, who is the oldest of the Little Rock Nine. And we get to see him kind of do his senior year and be looked upon as a leader in this new world.
And he was the only senior, right? The rest of them were all juniors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sophomores. There were some
Juniors
sophomores.
and
Yeah.
sophomores.
Interesting, no freshmen.
Yeah, no freshmen.
Interesting.
So I would like to know more about what happened the next years. Like the following years, if they got more kids that came in. And as they said in the one part, the Little Rock Nine, the ones that were chosen, at first they thought there were going to be hundreds of kids. And then it just came down to these 9 that were chosen to go because they were the good black
Quote, unquote.
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were the ones that studied. They didn't do anything bad. Yeah.
And I think it's great because you get to see the other part of history. Like a lot of times when we're taught this history, it's just washed over. And you're like, oh, they integrated and that was the end of it. But it's not true. It was a very difficult time. These kids are heroic for what they went through. And you get to see that they didn't get to go and participate in their usual groups like they got to. They didn't get to be part of band. You know, Ernest Green was in jazz band and played the saxophone, and he didn't get to do that. He didn't get to run for, like, if he would have stayed at his old school, he would have probably been class president, and he didn't get to run. So they didn't get to do any of those things. They literally just got to go to school.
And barely got to do that.
Yeah, and barely got to do that.
Yeah. So that's kind of what my note was. It's like, hey, you can go here, but you can't do shit.
Yeah.
Like, you can go here and you can come and sit in class and maybe hopefully learn. I think this movie portrayed, you know, I call him Mr. Racism, but I think it portrayed, in my opinion, how racist teachers truly are. And then again, the thing that I kept hearing over and over was, well, you know, when something would happen, did a teacher see it? Well, then it didn't happen. If a teacher didn't see it, it didn't happen. And that leads into like today's bullying too. Like if the teacher doesn't see it, well, you know, we can't prove that it's going on. Teachers got it. And I was like, nobody does anything in front of the teacher. That's what you do.
Yeah.
You go out and smoke, but not in front of a teacher. You go sleep in a car, not in front of a teacher. You sneak out, not in front of a teacher.
Well, but even then, though, they show the scene with the showers, you know, with the,
Yeah.
they shut the glass. The
Oh,
teacher
it was the
did
worst.
catch it, but he just turned his blind eye
Yeah.
completely to it. So it comes to the simple fact that it shows that they just had a no-win situation.
Yeah.
Even if a teacher did see something, the teacher more than likely isn't going to, you know, actually call it out for what it was just because of where it was.
Yep.
I agree.
Such a serious topic.
You know, I went to high school in the 90s, and my high school was very integrated. We were a very culturally diverse area. There were cliques and there were bullying that went on, but we had a heavy black and Latino, you know, it wasn't like the whites weren't the majority in my school. You had instances and problems, but for the most part, everybody just kind of did their own thing.
Mine was the exact opposite.
Say, well, yeah, I know where you went to high
I,
school.
right, I grew up in a real small
Yeah,
town.
I knew where you went
and,
to school.
You know, we had maybe 10 kids of color in our high school, so it was completely different. And I remember people saying, oh my gosh, why are you going to college in St. Louis? Like, why would you go there? Why wouldn't you go where we're all going? And I was like, to see the same white faces that I've seen for the past 4 years.
Yeah, we went to school and it was all white. There were 2 people of color in our high school when we were going, and they were of Indian heritage, and there wasn't really racism toward them. They were well liked, but there was microaggressions. Like, I remember because I was friends with Poonam, and I remember them asking her a lot of the times, like, why do you have to get married to who your parents say you have to get married to? And just sort of that kind of ignorance.
And not asked in a I actually want to learn kind of way.
More like a judgment kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of had a mix because I went to the same high school as Pamela for the last couple of years. But before that, I went to a very big school that was in a burb that's outside of where the burbs are mixed, if that makes any sense. But I wasn't quite as far out as Jason. But
I survived.
But it very much had that break. The jocks, the nerds. It was weird because it's the most I've ever seen anything be that close to that kind of split.
Yeah.
But like if you were in the middle, you just didn't exist. And you were free game for whatever anybody wanted to pick on you. So I actually got to go to the Christian school for a year that they started at my dad and mom's church, and because dad was a preacher, it comes up every time. But I was actually super glad to go do that just because I got to escape that high school. So it really does vary widely.
Yeah, and I do say there were microaggressions against the people of color, but I'm not even talking about the LGBTQIA plus people that were in our school, that they absolutely could not come out, and even the thought of them being their own true selves was enough for ridicule. So that was different.
Do you know what character that I hated but I appreciated in this? Was the actual governor. I hated him, but I appreciated the perspective that was being given. And he made a comment, and I was looking at my notes trying to pull it up. He said, we can't force our citizens to do something they're so much against. And I was like, were all citizens against it? Or were you just taking the people that actually came out and spoke up and said, oh, we don't want this? It hit so hard for what we have happening today with like being able to use your pronouns in high schools and in middle schools and being able to teach these things. And it's just eye-opening to see that, there's still, I didn't realize this, but when we were talking, you said, that's a sundown town. And I was like, those things still exist? Like sundown towns still exist?
And for those that don't know, a sundown town is a town where if you are of anything other than white, you get out of town before sundown.
Yeah. And it just blows my mind that's still happening. But I think a lot of people use that same phrase that he said, which was, we're forcing people to do something they don't want to deal with, or they don't approve of. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter, right? They're like, oh, just the vocal minority. But what about the vocal majority? Who pretend to be the vocal majority? I don't know. I will walk away with that today. Like that one was like, it's still today. It's like somebody lifted that speech straight out of this movie and still uses it today. So, I don't know.
My big takeaway from this movie is I wish I had a time machine so I could go back in time and slap each and every one of those people.
Oh, that one
school,
little bitch.
One at a time. Then I would immediately reverse time and go to the next person. It would just be magical. My hand would hurt, but it'd be worth it.
Knowing that 70 years later and these people still exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like when you see like footage of Martin Luther King and that kind of stuff, it's always the black and white. And it feels like it's 8 million years ago, but it's not. It's it was our parents' age.
Well, and again, you look at those kids that were treating, the white kids. I'm sorry, let me just be honest. It was the white kids that were treating everybody else like shit, right? You are taught hate. We are born with hate. Hate is taught to us through microaggressions, through blatant racism, through just dislike and jealousy, right? So we are taught to hate. And I kept thinking, I was like, damn, do you think some of those people look back and go, God, what was I doing? Why did I think that way? I know that I grew up in a very Catholic, conservative's the word I'll use, household. And so when I was young, I was like, yay, Republicans. But I didn't know until I started going out and educating myself. And I was like, well, I don't, everyone is entitled to their political opinion. I'm never going to tell you that you're wrong. I'm going to tell you why I disagree, and I want to listen to why you disagree so that you and I can come to some common ground. But unless you actually go out and educate yourself about why these things are incorrect or why these things are happening, or even understanding that throughout the movie, they kept doing stereotypes during the newscasts of like, oh, there was a crowd of angry black youth out there just, causing danger and fights. And you're like, okay, well, no. Probably not, but you're going to pick one thing about a community and use that. And we use that same stereotype against that community. We still do today. They're like, oh, don't go down the streets of St. Louis. No, I don't know if I'm going to Jimmy Stewart or what just happened, but trying to do an old man. And but
Well,
yeah, and
how would Eartha Kitt say it?
she would be upset about this movie,
Well, I think
but not Ossie Davis.
Well, I think the takeaway too from that, and what Jason, kind of tying in what Jason was saying, is I think when you watch these movies with more of an open mind about the situation, and you get angry, like John just said, you wanted to slap all these, you get angry, so you got to think what those people felt, the black students and the black community at the time, how they felt, how much restraint it took for them not to try to fight back. The grandfather told him, you've got to be, you got to tamp it down. You can't let them see it. You gotta. Damn. And Avery Brooks is in it. He plays the one priest and the preacher. And he says the same thing. He's like, you've got to let them know you're better than them. You're not going to resort to that. But it's a fear. It's a fear that minorities will want to treat white people the same way we treated them.
Well, and how do you control people? You control through fear, right?
Always,
misinformation and fear. It's still happening again today. And I guess that's why I said this movie was great. I will say this. This is a great movie, and I said it after we watched it. I said this is a movie that doesn't get the accolades it deserves, and I think it's because it was only shown on cable in the 90s, because I had never heard of it until you had mentioned it, and I was like, I don't know what this is. And you're like, oh, we watched it in school, and I was like, I don't know what that. We wouldn't watch this. We would not have watched this in my high school. I know we wouldn't have. Now maybe in our college preparatory class, probably, maybe in something like that. But I don't know.
I don't think we would have got to watch it if it hadn't been about Arkansas. That's the only reason we probably got to watch it.
It's just so interesting because we were talking about that too. We kept saying it. They're like, they showed this at your school. This was allowed.
It just makes me sad because I feel like more movies like this should be made. We should get to see that part of history, like what I was talking about earlier. What about all the other kids and the people of color that weren't white or couldn't pass as white? What happened to them? I want to know that part of history. I'm so sick and tired of hearing this whitewashed history, and they're doing it to kids now. They want to take this away. I don't know if they showed this after they showed it to my class, if any other kids got to see this movie. And what's happening? It just makes me so angry.
When we allow people to come in and tell you what you're allowed to read or you're allowed to talk about, and well, this is what, our tax dollars go to. Cool. Well, my tax dollars also go to it, so I have a voice. And when you think about some of the books, I don't even know which book it is on the list right now that I have to go back and look at, but one parents group wants to ban a book because it says the word damn in it. Well, damn's in the Bible. It's a book. Let it go. Because then I would come back and be like, okay, well, the Bible can't be in a school. You can't have any education about religion in schools at all. None, right? Okay, well, then goes, you take away theater, you take away the arts. Now what do you got? Okay, well, but you can't play music. You can't play music because music was inspired by different types of people.
And all of a sudden, we're in V for Vendetta.
Yeah, where is it? Where's the stop? Oh, don't teach them math. Well, you don't need to know. It's like, we're going back to the kingdom times. I don't know what time that would be, but the kingdom times where only the royal people learned how to read. Because it's all about control. It's all about control. So, I don't know. I just have to say this. The cast in this movie, absolutely outstanding. Morris Chestnut, who grows up to be very beautiful. I love Morris. I love you, Morris.
Was he Ernest?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Morris Chestnut grows up in it. Ossie Davis is in it. Ruby Dee is in it. I love Ruby Dee's character, the nosy, complaining neighbor. And if you don't know who Ossie and Ruby are, check out tons of movies. But the TV version of The Stand, not this last piece that came out, but the first one that came out, they have really huge parts in it, and both of those parts affected me as a kid when I saw it the first time. So the cast in this movie, even Mr. Racism, what's his name? Tubbs, Rubs, Cubs, Cobbs, Hobbs,
Gary Grubbs.
Get out, Gary Grubbs. Cornering the market on acting of racism. He has figured out his life. Gary Grubbs. The other thing that's about this is the acting from even the smallest of parts. Even the students who were just standing idly by and watching, and just, you saw a look and you see them just slink away. And I think they really did a great job casting this movie, which I think adds to why I think it should be. Why aren't we talking about this movie more? Right? And where we said we can find it on YouTube, right? Is that where?
Yeah.
It's on YouTube. It it looks like it was shot through like some saran wrap, but it's on YouTube. And then we
shot
got
with
a
potato.
copy off eBay that I'm sure is completely licensed. But as far as I know, there's nowhere else to actually get like a Disney DVD.
You know,
It was
I
very
once
difficult to find.
I was gonna say I once bought some artwork off of eBay that came with a DVD,
Oh.
and the artwork was wrapped around a DVD case. But they weren't selling the DVD. I was buying artwork.
Oh,
Just so happened it was a bonus, if you will.
it's such a nice gift.
I know. It was
Such a
worth
nice
the
gift.
$25 I paid for that artwork. Did you buy artwork? Is that what it was? Did you
think
buy the
so.
artwork?
Yeah.
Sometimes you need an extra DVD case with flashy artwork. And when you open it up and you see a surprise, you're like, what's this? It could be a cartoon. It might be porn. You don't know what you're getting, but you bought that artwork.
It's true.
Unlicensed.
Well, I think it's probably a lot with just distribution with Disney. You know, they showed it for a specific purpose or a specific time. Because yeah, a lot of those you can't really find those made for TV after school specials.
It probably would
been
have been
released.
like the 25th anniversary
yeah.
of the. No.
Well,
It would have been more
with
than that.
with streaming and Disney Plus, I could see this ending up on Disney Plus. Disney, you should put it on Disney Plus.
Yes, thank you, Disney.
I'm just saying, there was some other stuff on there that couldn't. That you shouldn't have done. Didn't matter how many warnings you put in front of it. We know what it was about. This one you should put in there.
And content warning, this movie does use the N-word.
Yeah.
It doesn't use the N-word as much as you probably figured that it was said back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and other words that probably would have been in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a couple with Puddin' Boy.
Yeah, that he
Puddin'
had
boy?
said.
Yeah, when she threw the chili at
He was
chili.
whispering.
It was Chili Boy.
Yeah, Chili
Sorry,
Boy.
I don't know. It looked like pudding.
Yeah,
I
it
was
didn't look like
did
chili.
Did I
with
miss
this-
a traumatic pudding scene?
Yeah, no, it was chili.
It was
Like
chili.
I mean, it looked like pudding, but it was chili.
Well,
Yeah,
that
I was like, was that
I mean,
pudding?
Yeah,
that's
he
how
said
school
it.
cafeteria food.
Yeah,
usually
he said a few choice phrases, which is kind of interesting. My mother was actually engaged to a black man for a time. It was interesting because his sister and all of her kids and stuff were our cousins, and we always had great times. We were invited to the barbecue, as they say now. But one night, my mom. Well, haven't you seen those where they're getting the
Yes.
barbecue? Yeah.
Yeah. yeah.
And so just one night I was going to 7-Eleven with a group of my cousins. They were all black. I was the only white kid in the car. And they got pulled over. And the cops literally pulled us all out of the car. They sat them all on the curb and they pulled me aside. And literally the white cop asked me, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" Which to most people, if I tell other white people that don't have that, they just look at it like, "Oh, that was nice of him. You thought he was in trouble." It's like, no, it wasn't. Because they were grilling my cousins, about where they were going, what they were doing, what was going on. And to me, they pulled me aside and were like, "Are you okay?" And I looked at him and I was like, "Yeah, those are my cousins." And then he kind of started to turn almost like, "Oh, you're buying drugs," like it would turn it around. It's like, "No, we're going to 7-Eleven, you asshole."
I mean, well, and it's still happening today.
Oh,
In my
of
first,
course.
My
Oh,
first
yeah.
retail job, I won't name the company, but the first retail job that I had, and it was more of an upscale. It wasn't upscale, but it was definitely a higher end store, a clothing store. And I will never forget, people of color walked in, and our AP guy goes, "Go follow them." And I go, "Why?" And he was like, "Well, you just need to watch them." And I go, "Oh, are they known shoplifters?" And he was like, "No." And I go, "Well, then why would I need to go watch them?" And he was like, "You know why." And I go, "No, why? I need you to explain to me why. What did they give off some sign? What psychology are you using?" Like, I was in college, so no, I'm gonna ask you questions. And he was like, "I want you to follow them." And I go, "Well, I'm not gonna do that. I don't feel comfortable doing that. And we can have a conversation with the store manager and your boss if you'd like, but I'm not gonna go profile somebody because of what you're inferring. So either you say what it is or back up, because I'm not going to." Now, if they were known shoplifters, sure, he was always watching people of color, and I was like, that's just such a horrible stereotype that you are perpetuating, and I'm not gonna be a part of it.
Do you know his name? Because I'm trying to get my hands on a time machine.
We'll discuss it off the air. But you can't base a decision on a stereotype of an entire group of people. Is a stereotype for a reason, all right? You're trying to hold people down. This movie made me angry. It made me sad. It made me uncomfortable because it was just a lot. It was a lot. It was a great movie. I I will say this, I don't want to watch it again. I would, however, I'd love to watch a good documentary about the Little Rock Nine, because I'd like to see, I know this one focused on Ernest, and I appreciate that, but there was one character that really stood out to me, and it was and I can't remember her name because they said it only a couple of times, but it was the girl that also was there, but she had the heart trouble. And like, I was like, they could have accidentally killed her with the trauma that they were doing to her when they threw the food at her and kicked her books out of her hand and all that kind of stuff. I was like, you could have actually killed her. And so I would love to hear the stories of all of them. I know that would be like really long, but it would be a great like documentary miniseries and like focus on each one of the 9, but told through their voice. And I don't know who's still alive and who isn't, but I would love to hear those stories. And I'd love to hear, like, what did you experience? And then maybe even a reenactment of some kind like that. But I just think, like, gosh, what a great docuseries that would make to focus on. Because I'm sorry, those are some of the bravest human beings I've ever seen. Because I was sitting there thinking, man, I remember walking into some things as, we all met through our work through a Pride organization. And we have walked into some very uncomfortable moments that we had to, when they said, hold your head up high, I remember someone saying that to me, like, just hold your head up high. Don't bow down. Don't you bow your head. You are being proud of who you are. And so that really resonated with me. And I was like, man, I really would love to hear more of their lives and where they went and what happened. Even the girl that left. I did want her to punch that girl. I wish she would have punched her in the face. But, it was... Yeah, so thank you for this one. It was good.
That's what I like about movies, and you're gonna see that in the movies that I picked too. And I know that John is sitting there like shaking his head to some of these movies, but I like movies that are like art. They make you think, they make you question, they make you feel something. So those movies are important to me. I think they have value, and eventually they're supposed to make you grow and uplift you as a person. And I think that's why this movie is so important, because I was raised in a very racist town by very racist people, and I didn't come out that way. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. I'll be learning for the rest of my life how to deal with these situations. But still, it's important that I got to experience that from such a young age, that I didn't have to be like the people around me. Like, there was a better way to be. There was a better way to treat people. And I think that's important for movies to teach us that.
100% agree. And I think that's why I think documentaries are so important. That's why I think seeing a movie that's outside of your comfort zone is so important. I remember when Milk came out. Everybody seen Milk in here?
Mm-hmm. No.
I thought you meant the drink for a minute, and that I was like,
I'm not that. Oh, I would be dust. I would be talking dust right now, sir.
Yeah.
The movie Milk came out, and I went and saw it by myself. And I went to a more upscale theater in a very upscale area, and it was the only theater showing it. And I was like, why is this the only theater showing this movie? So I went. And it's and it was a wonderful movie, but it is hard to watch at one scene. It's very hard to watch. And it brought me to tears in the theater. And the reason I'm telling this story is I remember getting up to leave the theater, and these 2 old white ladies graciously bowed out of the way to hold the doors open for me. And I was like, first of all, I'm kind of offended that you're automatically assuming that I'm gay, because only gay men by themselves would go see this movie. And then the other part, I was like, is this easing your straight guilt to be like, we open the doors for a homosexual today?
Well, yeah, of course.
And then after some perspective in the car and just reflectiveness, I was like, you know what? That movie probably opened their minds to something that they had never thought about, which was these people as people. And, as ridiculous as it was, that did mean something to them. So I can't be like, I'm still going to make fun of them for the rest of my life because they it was like this, if they they could have thrown flowers at me at that point. It was the grandest of, they were best. I don't know. I was like, are you going to get down and kneel? Like, what is this? But when we watch a movie like that does start to open our mind, that's when we need to start having those tough conversations with ourselves, number one, which is the worst, when we start to realize, oh my gosh, I have done microaggressions. I know that I've had microaggressions against me, but I didn't realize I was doing them against other people. And there are people out there that don't believe that a microaggression even exists.
Well, yeah.
And then when you see it live, I was at a city meeting where I saw a microaggression take place. And I was like, oh my God, this is what this is. And starting to realize it a little bit more and being like, are we all just going to sit here? Is anybody going to say anything? And then somebody, before I could even get up, like somebody was like, that was a microaggression. I just want to point out, like, what you just said was totally not okay. And here's why. And then, did that individual learn from it? No, they did not. But you are right, and I agree with you. I think we need to see more of those films that do make us question and make us go out and want to research. And I am guilty of it. I will, as soon as I start watching a movie that I really get into and I find out it's a true story, I start pulling up stuff while I'm watching the movie because I want to know more. It's really hard for me not to, because I'm like, I went straight to IMDb 15 minutes into this movie, and I was like, wait, so what else happened? And there's no trivia listed in there. There's nothing in there about it's zero. And I was like, why is there nothing in here about Ernest? Why is there nothing in here about the other 9? Like, where's the information?
It's hard to find information about this movie. I've looked, and the main tidbit that comes up is that it was actually filmed at Central High School. Like, part of it was filmed at Central High School.
Wow.
Yeah, back in the day. And that they interviewed Ernest, and he was like, yep, that stuff happened. You know, other stuff happened too, but that stuff happened, and that's about it. And like I said, I want to know more.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if there are other movies about it. We just don't know about them.
I'm sure there are. But again,
definitely books.
Let's be honest. Movies about people of color in general don't get a wide release. They're typically only put in urban areas. They're hardly put in areas where they need to be shown. And even if they are, they're not getting attended, which is why studios are like, oh, well, no, we need to put it in the areas that it's going to make some money.
Well, that's the old adage, you can lead a horse to drink, but you can't make it drink,
Right. Like,
and it's unfortunate that people don't want to expand their horizons, don't want to expand their minds. Well, that's like, I was a big World War II, as most white males generally end up being, I was a little,
straight white
male.
Thank you. I was like, what did I miss?
Sorry, straight white
Is
males.
this the gay thing?
Yeah. No, it's more, I think, I was way into it. I was living in Springfield, Missouri, probably 6th grade, 7th grade. No, it had to have been 6th grade. And I was reading The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, and it's got a swastika on the front cover, and it's a great book about it. It covers a lot of stuff that you don't ever really hear about with World War II. My gym coach is sitting on the bench. I swear to you, his exact quotes, "You some kind of communist boy." Literally. And I mean, that is his exact quote. I looked at it and I was like, yes, I am a Nazi communist. I am the first fascist communist. I just shook my head at him. And getting to the point of this, though, is like with the Japanese Americans that were put in internment camps in World War II. That was not taught in any history class until I got to high school. I had an amazing history teacher in high school who did. He got into those uncomfortable sides of history, and I really appreciated him for that. It's just something that we whitewashed out of history, because we were putting American citizens into legit internment camps. We were also taking German prisoners and bringing them to the United States, but they were getting put up in these nice little towns. I mean, they were guarded, but they were allowed to work, interact with these, in these little towns because they were white. But our own citizens, because they were Japanese, they had a different skin tone, they were thrown into harsh conditions in internment camps. And that's, again, we don't learn about those kind of things. And so when you watch this, it's just amazing, Fear does amazing
things.
It does. It is, and it's all about that.
As you were saying that, like, it made me think of one of the... So Disney's Beauty and the Beast is one of my all-time favorite Disney movies. Like, I think it is my favorite Disney movie if I really sit down and discuss it. But during the...
You mean the animation, right?
Yeah, the animation one, yeah. I mean, the other one was okay. In the song where the crowd is heading to the castle, there's a line that they say, "We hate what we don't understand because it scares us." And this whole, like, watching those people in this movie with the signs, it was like, keep it Christian. And I was like...
What the fuck does that have to do with anything?
Right, I was like, well, they go to church. I'm pretty sure, regardless of what religion they identify as, all those religions identify as a Christian of some type, right? And I always think about that whenever I encounter someone that I have to have that. I do a lot of allyship training at my job to teach people how to be a better ally to the LGBTQIA+ community. And I always remember that line from that song, because even as a kid, that hit me hard. And it's like, okay, people are afraid of things they don't understand. It's something that has to do with human psychology. We're just afraid of what we don't understand. So we have to have movies like this. We have to have talks like this. We have to bring in guest speakers like this. Go out and attend, go to your local library. For the love of God, support your library. For the love of whatever creator you believe in. Just go to your local library and support them, and then go, hey, where are the banned books? What am I not supposed to know about? What's that section like? Go out and just like with you, you have expanded your mind, right? We all have at different points said, I need to go out and learn about this and be better.
My wife works in a library, and they actually set up displays for banned books. Their library is pretty good about that. They do Black authors, and they do different and LGBT plus. They do displays for that, so that they're right front and center. And she comes home with stories of these people that just we want that taken down. That's why are you subjecting? I guess that's the psychology.
There's something about the human psychology in that if you believe a certain way, there's almost nothing that's going to change your mind. It's going to take an act of God to change your mind. And if you're the other way, the same thing. But if you're somewhere in the middle and you're open-minded enough, if you're questioning enough, if you're just curious enough, then movies like this will have a huge impact like they did on me when I was a kid. And that's why I believe movies like this need to be made. We need to see more movies. I don't remember who was the director, who was the writer, but I hope they were people of color. I hope that we can get more people of color making movies about the history that we didn't get to see.
Hear, hear. I vote a second term.
No.
I like this leadership. Yes, I turned my head and looked at John.
Maybe we can watch a Marvel movie next.
No, I mean, I don't want it to seem like I don't appreciate or understand this kind of movie. I just don't like being uncomfortable in general. It's not even that the topic makes me uncomfortable. I hate seeing people be mean to someone else when someone should have been able to step in and stop it, and no one did.
No,
and that makes me angry and uncomfortable, and there's literally not a goddamn thing I can do to go back in time and fix that.
But you can start fixing it today, right?
And doing what I can.
And
but
one of the things part of my job is to teach people, right? We learn when we're uncomfortable. That's when we really start to learn, is in that uncomfortability stage, because it's pushing us out of our comfort zone and it's opening us up to be like, wow, okay. Yeah, I attended a courageous conversation at my employment, and this man, he said, listen, I'm a gay Black man. I can hide being gay, but I can never hide being Black. Mm-hmm. And I just sat there and I was like, wow. Just wow. The implications of that statement, that will always stay with me. I don't think he realized how powerful that statement was. Again, great movie choice. Yes. Great movie choice. Thanks for making us all uncomfortable.
Yes. Thank you for being uncomfortable.
Well, how are you feeling, President?
On a scale of 1 to 5, Pee Wee Herman bicycles.
We didn't even get into that, though. When you watch this movie, Ernest Green has Pee Wee's bike. He's the one that stole Pee Wee's bike, apparently, or bought it, or whatever. Or maybe they bought it.
I think they bought it from him.
That's true. Yeah, because it takes place in '58.
Yeah.
So you're right. Someone took his bike and modified it for Pee Wee. Because when you watch, as John pointed out, it might even be the same prop.
It may have been.
Very well that they found, and that would be something I'd be interested to dig into.
Probably one of the best ways to rank a movie, Pee Wee Herman bicycle.
Pee Wee ended up with Ernest Green's bike, and fight me. I think that is the absolute lineage of that bike.
I would give it 5. I think this is a 5. Uncomfortability. I was angry at the very beginning because I was like, is this whole thing gonna be a bunch of racisms? And it was, and it was a lot. And there were times where normally I take a ton of notes, and I just had my phone and I kept hitting the thing on because I was like, well, I should write. And I was like, I don't want to write that down. So yeah, I give it a 5. Good job.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go 5. I mean, I could go less, but I know it's just my uncomfortableness and what I like to watch, but I think there was nothing wrong with them. Like, I can't think of one thing to complain about in the movie. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 5. The cast was great. The acting was great. The music was
it really was
memorable, but it's.
Oh, I know. I love the jazz.
Yeah. That, but I mean, like the little bit of soundtrack score that we got. But I mean, it's a made-for-TV entertainment movie, so.
See, and that's where if it had been like a major kind of motion picture release, I would have to give it like a 4 because it didn't go far enough. But with like what John just said, it was a made for TV after school kind of special that did kind of go harder than, some of them would. So yeah, I would probably give it a 5 as well.
Oh, wow.
So I'm pretty sure that's our most highly rated movie.
I
Well,
think
what would
so.
you give it? Did you already do yours?
I'm going to give it a 5, Pee-wee Herman Bicycles, because it had a huge impact on me as a child, and it stuck with me all these years, and I don't know that I've seen it since the 90s, but here I am in 2022 asking my friends to watch this movie that I consider so important. So, yeah, it gets 5.
Great job, Prezi.
Yeah.
You did it.
I was so nervous, and I know John's going to have a hell of a time editing this episode.
Also, can I say, no one ever, ever, ever apologized for your picks. That's the whole point of this thing, is to show us the things that you like, the things you love, or the things that are terrible that you love anyway. Like a certain movie that I'm going to add to the list.
I know, I was over here thinking of a couple, too. From Justin to Kelly.
Oh my god!
You specifically said you were not going to add
I give that
to the
0
list.
swimsuits out of 0 swimsuits.
First of all, you don't know.
Oh, I know.
You don't.
Okay, so how am I going to make you choose who is going to be our next cabinet?
We need to spin
We gotta
first.
spin the Wheel of Moviedom.
Because that's going to be who's next.
Because that's going to
president.
be who's
It's my
gonna be
whole
president.
job.
Okay.
That's all I got. I gotta make sure
Okay.
everybody's
Okay,
gotta
okay,
see it
okay.
because they think
Yeah.
that I'm gonna cheat.
And
'cause-
just for our listeners, we're letting you know we've made a change to the Wheel of Moviedom here. Before we were actually putting movies and they would spin, we'd pick the movie. This time we just kind of simplified it a little bit. All of our names are now on the wheel in multiple places. I think 2 places each.
Yeah.
Yep, two each.
And so it just kind of makes it a little easier. Then we got to think of a movie beforehand. So then we're doing a little different, just so we know. Just keep
And
the
I will
rules.
update the bylaws
All
Thank
right,
you.
good job.
that no one ever read.
Well, that's true.
I read them the other day. I went to the website.
You so
Oh,
fancy.
way.
I did. Are
All
you
right, I'll
ready?
keep paying for it then.
Okay, all right, here we
yeah,
go.
keep paying for mine too. Okay, here we go. Jason,
Big yellow,
Jason,
big yellow, big
Jason.
yellow.
Damn it!
Oh, John!
Yes!
Big John got it.
Well, neat. I'll be the treasurer again.
And our movie selection next month will be Lucky Logan,
Woot woot.
which I
Which
don't
is-
remember what year it came out, but it's excellent.
It's a more recent movie,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's-
Yeah, within the last like 5
It's-
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Redneck Ocean's 11, and it's great.
2017.
So
Good.
yeah.
Okay,
Channing
so-
Tatum and Adam Driver.
Okay, so it's Chris and I have not seen this
No,
movie.
we have not.
It is a very good movie.
I mean,
You
I'm
guys-
attracted to people in it, so that's.
It's
You
a-
got that? Is
like
there
John
nudity?
said.
Is there?
Is there any nudity?
I don't remember. No. All right, so President, how are we going to pick the Secretary Treasurer?
So how you're gonna pick is I want someone to do their best Arkansas euphemism.
Who?
I will enjoy be treasurer.
I was gonna say, Jay. I have no idea. Arkansas. See, that's where Jason are at a
Or
disadvantage.
just
We're-
Southern, you know.
Oh, okay.
Like he
well,
says
just-
blue pig and
Oh,
whatever.
He
yeah,
said, rare as
as
a blue pig.
Yes. Mine is, well, damn, that's got to be slicker than horse shit.
That's pretty good.
Actually, no, I think it's chicken shit. I don't know.
Oh, some kind of animal.
Some kind of animal fisses.
Mine actually it probably isn't even a Southern one, but I've got to say it because it's my grandfather's favorite character was Foghorn Leghorn, and his boy's about as sharp as a bag of wet mice. You've never? Oh, that's man. Some of those Foghorn. He's got another one. That's like, boy, you extended you're extending the bounds of my medication. But no, I love that you're about as sharp as a bag of wet mice. I love that. Like I said, Mike. So yeah.
All right, what's yours?
I don't have one. I just wanted to hear other people do it.
I was like,
I guess you'll be treasurer because I'm sorry, the mice win.
No, the
So
mice
he's
win.
Vice president, you can be secretary.
man, I mean, I got more work to do. All right.
Okay, now what?
It looks like you got old or
Older other business.
Oh, that's me, isn't it?
Yeah,
Secretary.
Yeah.
Secretary.
Oh, I don't think we really have any old business or other business. Jason.
Oh.
I'm going to hand it over to you to
Great.
handle all those places where they
Awesome.
can listen
Here
and
we
get
go.
a hold of us.
Let me put on my 1950s radio voice.
Before you start that, I do want
No.
to throw one thing in that's related.
Yeah.
Is that, YouTube has not been updated since episode 2.
Oh, you want
so,
me to take it off of there?
I mean, it can still
It's
be
not
on
even
there.
on there.
I
No,
just
it's-
need
it
to-
is on there.
I just need to do it, and I'm lazy
Okay.
because it takes time.
Great.
So.
Here we go. Please remember to follow us on all of our social media sites: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the TikTok. We have some cute TikToks that you put up.
Thank you.
Yeah, especially the ones focusing on me. You can always stay up to date by following us at the Missing Movie Club website, which is missingmovieclub.com. And of course, share with your friends. Subscribe to us on all of your different podcast platforms, including Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Overcast, Breaker, Castbox, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Stitcher, Odyssey, iHeart, Player.fm, and Ghana. I don't know if that's how you say it or not, but it's how I'm saying it from now on.
It's the one in India.
Oh,
Yeah. Which actually we have a big listenership over there.
I need to
Nice.
get. I wonder if
Also,
you know what.
Ireland
I
is still
wonder if they
keeping
would
up.
like. You know, I wonder if they would like some gabbing with Gason over there.
I mean, who wouldn't want some
Right?
Gavin
In fact, I'm gonna take a second to plug my show, like I do every episode. Check out gabbingwithgason.com. Okay, bye.
Well, I think though before too, to mention that it is February, which is Black History Month. As Jason pointed out earlier, go to the library, pick up some books, things that are out of your comfort zone. You know, you might not. There's a lot out there. You know, take some time to peruse. Just pick up one and just read it.
Don't be embarrassed if you don't know what to look for. Go talk
Exactly.
to your local librarian and just say, "Hey, I'm trying to expand my mind. Can you give me a couple titles?"
Yep, and they will.
We love doing that, by the way.
Yeah.
It's also Pamela History Month because this is her birthday
Oh.
Happy birthday, Madam President. I really like you. Happy birthday. Oh my God.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with that, I will adjourn so we can all go do something else.
We're gonna go have some hot cocoa dip.
Oh, that's right, hot cocoa dip.
Is that the rule? It's a 3-tapper?
It's got to
So
be a
we
3
decided
tap.
last
Tapper.
Yep, you got to
Two-
tap it 3 times.
Two is two.
Okay, I'm cutting all this. I'm cutting every bit of this.
Gavel drop.
I might keep that.
Jeez. I knew this was gonna get heated. And we need it because the basement's cold.